The world is loud, and everyone seems to have an opinion about how you should live. It is easy to feel pulled in a dozen directions, overwhelmed by the noise, unsure of what you truly believe. This is where an ancient practice called Stoicism becomes incredibly useful. It is not about suppressing emotion or being stone-faced. It is a practical philosophy for finding a quiet center of inner truth and clarity, a way to anchor yourself when everything else feels chaotic. In this video, we are going to explore 25 powerful Stoic questions. Think of them as mental tools, a kind of personal toolkit for cutting through illusion and grounding yourself in reality. This is about actionable wisdom you can use today, not just ancient theory. By the end, you will have a complete framework to navigate life's chaos with a calm and clear mind. We will uncover how a simple question about control can dismantle anxiety, and how imagining your best self can guide every decision. What does it truly mean to live a life grounded, not in other people's expectations, but in your own unwavering truth? The first and most fundamental question is also the simplest to ask, yet the hardest to fully accept. What is within my control? This is the cornerstone of Stoic practice, a mental filter for every situation you will ever face. It is not a vague philosophical idea. It is a daily practical tool for sorting reality. On one side of this clear line are the things you control completely. Your own judgments, your intentions, your desires, your aversions, and most importantly, your actions and reactions right here, right now. Everything else, everything outside of that inner citadel of your mind and will belongs on the other side. The weather, traffic, what other people say or think about you, the past, the future, the final outcome of your efforts, these are not in your control. Trying to command them is like standing on the shore and shouting at the ocean to be still. You will only exhaust yourself and drown in frustration. The power lies not in controlling the wind, but in knowing how to adjust your sail. When you ground yourself in this truth, a profound shift happens. Anxiety about things you cannot change begins to loosen its grip. Your energy redirects. Instead of wasting it on futile attempts to manage the unmanageable, you pour it into the one arena where you are truly sovereign, your own character and your chosen response. This is where your freedom lies. The real test of this question is not in understanding it, but in applying it when the pressure is on. So let us try a practical exercise, a control audit. Think of a common source of stress, perhaps a tense meeting at work or being stuck in a frustrating traffic jam. Now, take that situation and mentally sort every single element into two clear piles. In the work conflict, what is outside your control? Your colleagues' tone of voice, their personal opinions, the company policies that may have led to the issue, even the outcome of the discussion. What is within your control? Your preparation, your willingness to listen, the respect in your own tone, the clarity of your communication, and your commitment to finding a solution rather than winning an argument. In the traffic jam, you control nothing about the red lights, the other drivers, or the construction ahead. You control your breathing, whether you listen to music or an audiobook, your decision to call and say you will be late, and your choice to either fume or accept the delay with patience. This sorting is a mental muscle. The more you do it, the stronger it becomes. A powerful journaling prompt to strengthen this is to ask yourself each evening, today, what did I mistakenly try to control? Maybe you tried to control a family member's mood, or the perfect outcome of a project, or the weather ruining your plans. Simply writing it down shines a light on where your energy leaked out. This practice does not magically remove obstacles, but it drains the anxiety out of them. It turns a chaotic storm into a simple list of facts. Your energy, once scattered, now has a single point of focus, your own response. And that is where all real power and peace begin to grow. An essential life is a life of clarity, not deprivation. This second question, is this essential, cuts to the heart of a cluttered existence. Stoics believed in living according to nature, which for a human being means living as a rational and social creature. Our purpose is not to accumulate but to contribute. To act with virtue, so every single thing we invite into our lives, from a commitment on our calendar to a possession in our home, and even a recurring thought in our mind, must pass this simple test. Does this add real value to my life as a rational, social being? Does it help me build character, fulfill my duties, or connect with others? If it does not, it is merely a preference, an extra weight you are choosing to carry. The essential things are the virtues, courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance. The non-essential things are everything we often confuse for necessities: comfort, constant praise, luxury, or the perfect set of circumstances. One fuels your character, the other only fuels your dependence on external conditions. Imagine you are packing a backpack for a long, meaningful journey. This is your life. You cannot take everything you see. You must choose. Into the pack go the essentials: your integrity, your compassion, your sense of duty, your commitment to growth. Left behind are the heavy, bulky items of vanity, the need to be right every time, the resentment over past slights, the endless pursuit of things that glitter but do not nourish. An audit starts with the tangible. Look at your calendar. How many hours are spent on activities that feel draining and pointless, that do not align with who you want to be? Look at your possessions. How many items do you maintain, insure, clean, and worry about that do not spark joy or serve a vital purpose? Then go deeper to the intangible. Audit your thoughts. How much mental space is rented out to gossip, to jealousy, to replaying arguments you cannot change? These are the heaviest non-essentials of all. Asking, is this essential, is not about living a barren life. It is about making ruthless room for what truly matters. When you remove the clutter, what remains is not empty space. It is freedom, focus, and the unshakable strength of a life built on purpose, not on piles of stuff. A cluttered calendar is one thing, but a cluttered character is far more costly. Once we have cleared away the non-essentials, we create space for something far more important: a guiding presence. This leads us to the third question, a question that transforms everyday choices into acts of self-creation. What would my best self do? The Stoics had a concept for this ideal. They called it the sage. But do not let that word intimidate you. This is not about becoming a flawless, emotionless statue on a mountaintop. That is an impossible standard, and chasing it only leads to frustration. Think of your best self instead as a guiding star, a personal North Star composed of your highest values. This is the version of you that acts with clear-eyed wisdom, not reactive panic. The version that meets difficulty with courage, not avoidance. The one who treats others with fairness and kindness, practicing justice in every interaction. The one who exercises self-discipline and moderation, that is temperance, not out of deprivation, but from a deep sense of inner strength. Your best self is not a distant fantasy. It is the person you are capable of becoming in any given moment, if you choose to act from your core principles rather than your fleeting impulses. The power of this question is in its immediacy. It is a mental shortcut for any crossroads, big or small. You are about to send a tense email. Pause. What would my best self do? Your best self would craft a response that is firm yet respectful, seeking resolution over retaliation. You are tempted to skip a commitment because you feel tired. What would my best self do? Your best self honors their word, understanding that integrity is built one kept promise at a time. You receive criticism, and your first instinct is to get defensive. What would my best self do? Your best self listens first, seeks the kernel of truth within the feedback, and responds with gratitude for the chance to improve. This question personifies your values. It turns the abstract virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance into an inner counselor you can consult at any time. You are no longer just reacting to the world. You are actively shaping your character by asking, in this situation, What would the most grounded, virtuous version of me choose right now? Every time you ask and act on the answer, you are not just solving a problem. You are practicing the art of becoming. You are aligning your daily actions with the person you ultimately wish to be. And with each choice, that star in the sky feels a little closer, a little brighter, a little more like home. Our minds are storytellers, constantly interpreting the raw data of the world around us. This fourth question is a vital interruption to that automatic narrative. Am I confusing my impressions with reality? The Stoic teacher Epictetus offered a radical idea, one that can change your entire emotional landscape. He said, people are not disturbed by things, but by the views which they take of them. The event itself is neutral. Your judgment about the event is what carries the emotional charge. Think of it like this. You hear a loud, sudden noise in the night. Your initial impression might scream, intruder. Your heart races, your body floods with adrenaline. That is the impression, the immediate, uncensored story your mind creates. But what if you pause and examine that story? You turn on the light. The reality is a stack of books that slid off your desk. The noise was just a fact. The fear was your judgment about that fact. Most of our daily suffering works exactly like this. We do not just experience events. We layer them with interpretation, assumption, and old emotional baggage. Someone gives you a brief, curt reply in a text message. The impression, they are angry with me. I must have done something wrong. This is a problem. That impression feels utterly real and it can ruin your afternoon. But is it reality, or is it just a story you are telling yourself? The practice is to take your impressions to court. Treat every initial reaction not as a verdict but as a hypothesis to be tested. Your boss' feedback felt harsh. The impression, they think I am incompetent. The cross-examination, is that the only possible explanation? Could they be under immense pressure themselves? Could their bluntness be a clumsy attempt to be efficient, not personal? Is there any concrete evidence beyond my feeling? This is not about making excuses for others. It is about reclaiming your cognitive freedom. You are the judge of your own thoughts, not a prisoner to the first one that shouts the loudest. A project at work hits a major snag. The impression, this is a disaster, my effort is wasted, everything is ruined. The cross-examination, is it truly a catastrophe, or is it simply a difficult obstacle? What is the actual, factual scope of the problem? What is the next single, actionable step to address it? By separating the pure event from the drama we wrap around it, we drain the panic out of the situation. We see the obstacle for what it is, a thing to be dealt with, not a monster to be feared. Asking this question builds a moment of space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your power. You are no longer a passive recipient of whatever story your anxiety writes. You become an active investigator of truth, and that investigation is the very foundation of a calm and grounded mind. This constant investigation of our own thoughts leads us to a deeper inquiry, one about our very design. The fifth question asks, does this align with my nature? The Stoics had a profound concept for this, oikeiosis, which means belonging or appropriation. It is the idea that to flourish, we must live in harmony with our own fundamental nature. And what is a human being's nature? We are, by design, rational and social creatures. This is not a poetic suggestion. It is a practical blueprint for a life of meaning and resilience. Every choice, every reaction, every commitment can be held up to this two-part test. First, does this action align with my nature as a rational being? Am I using my capacity for logic, foresight, and wisdom, or am I being driven by raw impulse, blind emotion, or short-term desire? The rational part of you steps back, weighs the long-term consequences, and chooses a path forward. The impulsive part just wants to react right now, to win the argument, to indulge the craving, to flee the discomfort. Asking this question calls your rational self to the helm. Second, does this align with my nature as a social being? Am I acting in a way that contributes to the common good, that honors my connections to others, that treats people with the fairness and kindness inherent in a shared community? Or am I acting from pure self-interest, isolation, or disregard for those around me? Our social nature is not an add-on. It is woven into our survival and our happiness. We are meant for fellowship, so let us make this concrete. You are offered a lucrative promotion that requires unethical shortcuts. Your impulse, driven by greed and a desire for status, screams to take it. But does it align with your rational nature? A rational being understands that ill-gotten gains are a fragile foundation, that a compromised character is the highest cost. Does it align with your social nature? It harms the trust of your colleagues and the integrity of your workplace. The answer becomes clear. Conversely, you see a stranger struggling with heavy bags. The impulsive, self-centered part of you might think, that is not my problem, I am in a hurry. But your social nature, your fundamental design, knows that offering help is a small act of fellowship that strengthens the invisible web we all depend on. It aligns with who you are built to be. This question grounds us in our fundamental human design. It turns vague moralizing into a personal alignment check. Vanity, greed, fear, these are impulses that pull us away from our nature. They create internal friction, a sense of being at odds with ourselves. Reason and fellowship, these are the impulses that bring us into harmony. They feel right because they are right for our species. When you feel that friction, that unease, pause and ask, does this choice align with the rational, social creature I am designed to be? The answer will not always be easy, but it will always point you toward your own unshakable ground. Harmony with our nature gives us a compass, but life still sends storms our way. The sixth question is a tool for weathering them, a practice the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This sounds dark, like inviting trouble in for tea. This is not pessimism. It is fearless examination, a deliberate and clear-eyed look at what we are so afraid of, so that fear no longer holds us hostage in the shadows. The goal is to turn the vague, looming monster of anxiety into a specific, manageable set of facts. Once it is a set of facts, you can deal with it. The process is straightforward but profound. First, you define the fear with absolute clarity. Not, I am worried about my presentation, but the specific fear is that I will forget my key points, my voice will shake, and the client will dismiss my ideas as unprepared. You name it, you bring it into the light. Second, you visualize it in vivid, realistic detail. Do not shy away. Imagine the scene. You are at the podium. Your mind goes blank for a moment. You feel your face grow warm. You see a few skeptical looks in the audience. You hear the awkward silence. You walk through the entire uncomfortable sequence, not as a victim, but as an observer collecting data. This is where the magic happens. By facing the scenario fully, you often discover something astonishing. You survive it. The world does not end. The client might be unimpressed, but you walk out of the room. You are still you. The catastrophic feeling begins to shrink down to its true size, which is almost always smaller than the anxiety that preceded it. The third and most crucial step is to plan your virtuous response. Now that you have seen the worst, ask yourself, how would my best self handle this? If I forget a point, I will pause, take a breath, glance at my notes, and continue with calm honesty. If my voice shakes, I will ground myself by focusing on one person who seems engaged. If the client dismisses the ideas, I will ask thoughtful questions to understand their concerns, treating it as a dialogue, not a defeat. You are not just imagining the disaster. You are rehearsing your dignity within it. You are building a mental contingency plan for your character. This practice robs fear of its greatest weapon, the element of surprise. When you have already sat with the possibility of failure, rejection, or loss, and you have already decided how you will meet it with courage and wisdom, you carry an immense quiet confidence. The unknown becomes the known. The monster under the bed, once examined, is often just a dusty old suitcase and a shadow. You realize you can endure far more than your anxiety claims, and in that realization you find not dread but a deep and unshakable resilience. Resilience in the face of fear is built on a foundation of personal responsibility. This brings us to a question that cuts through distraction and places your power squarely where it belongs. Am I doing my job? The Stoics had a powerful framework for this, known as role ethics. You are not just one person, you are a collection of roles, each with its own set of duties. You are a citizen, an employee or a student, a friend, a family member, a neighbor. Your job is not merely your profession. It is the sum of the responsibilities attached to each of these roles you inhabit. And the fundamental rule is this: your energy is for perfecting your own performance, not for critiquing the performances of others. Think of life as a grand, intricate play. You have been cast in several parts. You cannot control the script, the other actors, the set design, or the audience's reaction. Those are the director's concerns, the realm of what is not in your control. Your sole obligation, your only true job, is to deliver your own lines with conviction, to move across the stage with purpose, and to play your part to the absolute best of your ability. If the actor next to you forgets a line or delivers it poorly, your job is not to stop the scene and lecture them. Your job is to stay in character, to adapt, to support the scene with your own excellence. This is the ultimate antidote to resentment and wasted energy. How often do we drain ourselves by focusing on what someone else is not doing? A colleague is not pulling their weight on a project. The immediate reaction is frustration, maybe even gossip, but the Stoic question interrupts that spiral. Am I doing my job? Am I fulfilling my role as a collaborative team member with integrity? Have I communicated clearly? Have I done my portion with excellence? If the answer is yes, then your inner ground is solid. You have done what is yours to do. Your peace is not dependent on their performance. Your character remains intact. The same applies at home. You cannot control a family member's mood or habits. You can only control how you show up in your role as a supportive partner, a patient parent, a respectful child. Are you doing that job well? This focus is liberating. It turns a chaotic world of other people's failures into a clear checklist of your own virtuous actions. You stop keeping score of what others owe you and start auditing what you owe to the world by virtue of your roles. Your circle of control becomes beautifully defined. It is the space of your own duty. When you stand in that space and ask, "Am I doing my job?" you are no longer a passive critic of life's play. You become its most dedicated and grounded actor, and that is where true fulfillment is found. Focusing on your own duty builds an unshakable inner strength, a strength that is about to be tested. Life does not hand you a perfect stage. It throws obstacles onto it. A project collapses, a relationship falters, your health takes an unexpected turn. The initial reaction is often to see these as pure setbacks, as things that block your path. But Stoicism offers a radical, almost alchemical reframe. The eighth question asks, how can I turn this obstacle into an advantage? This is the famous Stoic principle of the turning, the art of transforming every apparent impediment into fuel for your own growth. It is the mindset of seeing the brick wall not as a dead end, but as the material you will use to build a stronger foundation. Modern thinkers call this antifragile. Most things are fragile, they break under stress like a glass vase. Some things are robust, they withstand stress like a sturdy oak table. But antifragile things actually get stronger, more resilient because of stress. Think of your muscles. They do not grow when they are resting. They grow when they are challenged, stressed, and then given time to recover. Your character works the same way. An obstacle is not a sign that the universe is against you. It is an invitation, however unwelcome, for your character muscles to grow. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who faced constant political intrigue, betrayal, and the burdens of ruling an empire, practiced this daily. He wrote in his private journal, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He saw annoying, difficult people not as curses, but as his personal trainers for patience. A frustrating delay became training for perseverance. Each irritation was a chance to practice his philosophy, to turn the lead of a bad situation into the gold of a stronger self. So how do you actually perform this turning? It begins with a shift in perception. You must look at the obstacle and ask two powerful, practical questions. First, what skill or virtue can this situation force me to develop? Is this financial pressure teaching me resourcefulness and gratitude for what I already have? Is this conflict with a colleague training me in clearer communication or deeper empathy? Is this period of waiting and uncertainty cultivating within me a patience I never knew I needed? The obstacle becomes a curriculum, and you are the student. Second, what new perspective can this challenge offer? Often, a blocked path forces us to look in a direction we would have never considered. A job loss can reveal a hidden passion or push you toward a skill you neglected. A broken plan can open your eyes to a simpler, more authentic way of living. The obstacle becomes a teacher, showing you a part of the map you were ignoring. Your challenge right now is to take one current difficulty, however small, and apply this lens. That slow, tedious administrative task at work, how can it be turned? It is training in meticulous attention to detail, a virtue essential for any larger goal. That awkward social interaction, it is offering a lesson in letting go of the need for everyone's approval. That physical limitation, it is teaching you to appreciate mobility in a profound new way and to cultivate mental strengths that do not rely on the body. This is not about toxic positivity, pretending everything is fine when it is not. It is about a clear-eyed, strategic response. You acknowledge the difficulty, the pain, the frustration fully. And then, from that honest starting point, you make a deliberate choice. You decide that this thing will not just happen to you. You will use it. You will allow it to forge you into someone wiser, kinder, tougher, and more capable than you were before it arrived. The obstacle is not in your way, it is the way. Turning obstacles into advantages requires a fundamental shift in our relationship with the world. We move from fighting reality to engaging with it fully. This leads to the ninth question, a question that elevates our perspective from personal preference to a kind of cosmic duty. What is the universe asking of me right now? This is not about mystical signs or waiting for a voice from the clouds. It is a practical, grounding inquiry, a cosmic version of asking what is needed here. We habitually approach our days with a list of wants. I want this meeting to go smoothly. I want to feel respected. I want this difficulty to disappear. That focus locks us in a cycle of desire and disappointment because the world rarely conforms to our personal checklist. This question flips the script entirely. It asks us to set aside our list of wants and instead read the room of our own lives with clear eyes. Look at the circumstance directly in front of you, exactly as it is, not as you wish it were. Then ask, given this reality, what action does it call for? What virtue is demanded by this specific moment? Often, the answer is startlingly clear. The universe, through the simple fact of this difficult conversation, is asking for your courage to speak honestly. Through the presence of a friend in distress, it is asking for your kindness and patience. Through a tedious, repetitive task, it is asking for your perseverance and attention to detail. The present moment is not random, it is your assignment. This mindset is deeply connected to the Stoic ideal of amor fati, the love of fate. This does not mean you have to like everything that happens. That would be irrational. It means you accept it fully as the raw material you have been given to work with. You cannot sculpt with clay you refuse to touch. Amor fati is the decision to embrace your current circumstance, however challenging, as the necessary starting point for any virtuous action. It is saying, this is my material. This frustration, this delay, this opportunity, this grief, this is what I have to work with. Now, what will I build? Imagine you planned an important outdoor event and it begins to rain. Your want was for sunshine. The universe, through the rain, is asking for something else entirely. It is asking for your flexibility, your creativity, your ability to find joy and connection despite altered plans. Complaining about the weather is a refusal of the assignment. Accepting the rain and asking, okay, what can we create now, is how you turn fate into a partner. This question transforms passive endurance into active, dignified participation. You are no longer a victim of your day. You are a respondent to it. When you wake up and your body is tired, the universe might be asking for rest and self-care, not relentless productivity. When a conflict arises, it is asking for your wisdom to navigate it justly. Every moment becomes a dialogue. By asking what is needed, you stop arguing with reality and start collaborating with it. Your energy shifts from complaint to constructive engagement. You become an instrument of what is good and necessary right here, right now. And in that shift, you find a profound sense of purpose because you are no longer living for your wants alone, but are answering a call that is woven into the very fabric of things. The weight of a single moment can feel crushing when you are standing right inside it, but perspective is a lever that can lift that weight clean off your shoulders. This is the power of the 10th question. Will this matter in a year or in the grand view of time? It is a direct application of a classic Stoic meditation called the view from above. The practice is simple in concept but profound in effect. You deliberately zoom out, mentally rising above the cramped, noisy street level of your immediate problem. You see your house, then your neighborhood, then your entire city from the sky, then the continent, the planet, a pale blue dot drifting in the vast silence of space. And from that impossible height, you look back down at the source of your current anxiety. The delayed train, the rude comment, the spilled coffee on your report, the minor social slight. Seen from that distance, how much does it truly matter? This question forces a necessary recalibration. It separates the temporary sting from the lasting wound. Most of what agitates us on a Tuesday afternoon will be utterly forgotten by Wednesday morning, let alone a year from now. The frustration that feels all-consuming in the moment is often just a speck of dust on the timeline of your life. The things that will matter in a year, in 5 years, in the grand view of your entire story, are not these daily irritations. They are the choices that shape your character. They are the courage you showed in a difficult conversation, the integrity you maintained when cutting a corner was easier, the kindness you extended when you were tired and irritable. These are the actions that compound into a legacy. They are the stones you are using to build the foundation of who you are. Everything else is just weather passing through. So the next time you feel your blood pressure rising over something small, pause, take that mental flight, look at this moment from the balcony of next month. From the hilltop of next year, ask yourself with clear eyes, will the outcome of this specific situation even be a memory? Or is my emotional energy being hijacked by a temporary inconvenience that carries no real weight in the story of my life? This does not mean you ignore present problems. It means you solve them with the calm efficiency they deserve, rather than the dramatic urgency they pretend to demand. You conserve your finite emotional resources for the battles that truly shape your soul, for the loves that define your heart, for the contributions that echo beyond your own lifetime. The view from above grants you the serenity of the stars, allowing you to see your life not as a series of frantic emergencies, but as a meaningful narrative where you are both the author and the hero. Death is the horizon against which every meaningful life is drawn. The 11th question brings that horizon into sharp, immediate focus. Am I living as if today were my last? This is the heart of the Stoic practice known as memento mori, remember you must die. It sounds dark, even morbid, until you understand its true purpose. This is not an invitation to fear or despair. It is a tool for creating the most urgent, vivid, and purposeful life possible. The finitude of our time is not a curse. It is the very condition that makes our choices meaningful. If you had forever, nothing would matter. You could delay kindness, postpone your passions, waste years in resentment. But you do not have forever. You have this day, this hour, this breath, and so the question becomes a ruthless and beautiful filter for your attention. If I knew with certainty that I would die tonight, how would I spend this afternoon? Would I waste it scrolling through social media, nursing an old grudge, or worrying about a problem I cannot solve? Or would I call the person I love and tell them so? Would I step outside and feel the sun on my face with genuine gratitude? Would I finally write that letter, offer that apology, or simply sit quietly and appreciate the extraordinary fact of being alive at all? Memento Mori is not about a bucket list of grand adventures. It is about the micro choices of character. It asks you to die to the petty distractions so you can fully live in what remains. Think of a lantern in a vast, dark field. Its light only illuminates a small circle around you. You cannot see the entire field. You can only see what is within the circle of your light, which is this present moment. Memento Mori does not make the dark field scary. It makes you cherish the illuminated ground beneath your feet. It urges you to tend to that circle with absolute care, to notice the details, to pull the people you love into the light with you, and to leave nothing important unsaid within its glow. This practice grounds you in life's most non-negotiable truth, its impermanence. And from that grounding springs a profound sense of priority and a deep, active gratitude. You begin to treat your time as the precious, finite currency it is, and you stop spending it on things that have no lasting value for your soul. You start living not as if you have decades to get it right, but as if this day, just as it is the entire masterpiece. Our attachment to life is mirrored by our attachments within it. The 12th question asks us to examine those invisible threads that bind us to suffering. What am I clinging to that I should release? This is the heart of the Stoic teaching on desire and aversion, the two sides of the same painful coin. We suffer not because of events themselves, but because of our intense craving for certain things to happen, and our equally intense dread of other things happening. We cling to the desire for constant praise, for effortless comfort, for a specific outcome we have pictured in our minds. We cling to the aversion to criticism, to hardship, to any form of loss or change. Both are forms of attachment to what is ultimately outside our control. The clinging itself is the source of the tension, the anxiety, the feeling of being perpetually off balance, as if your happiness is a kite held by someone else's hand. This question invites a gentle but honest inventory of your attachments. Start with the tangible. Are you clinging to a possession whose maintenance costs you more peace than it provides? That car that strains your budget, the house that demands all your weekends, the gadget you fear losing. Then move to the intangible where the real knots are tied. Are you clinging to an old identity, the story you tell about yourself? I am the person who never fails, the one everyone likes, the one who is always in control. When life challenges that story, you suffer, not because of the event, but because you are clinging to a version of yourself that reality is gently trying to update. Are you clinging to a specific outcome, the perfect promotion, the ideal relationship, the flawless vacation? You have already written the script, and you are distressed when life refuses to read its lines. This clinging is a form of resistance to the flow of things. It is you standing in the river, trying to hold back the water with your bare hands. The practice of voluntary discomfort is the Stoic tool for loosening this grip. It is not about seeking pain for its own sake. It is a deliberate, controlled exercise in letting go of your aversions to prove to yourself that you are stronger than your comforts. It is taking a cold shower not because you have to, but because you choose to. It is choosing the simpler meal, walking instead of driving, fasting from social media for a day. Each small act is a message to your nervous system. I am not controlled by my desire for ease. I can willingly release my grip on comfort and be perfectly fine. In fact, I am more free. This is how you build immunity to the whims of fortune. When you have voluntarily experienced a little cold, a little hunger, a little solitude, the involuntary versions lose their power to terrorize you. You realize that what you feared was not the discomfort itself, but your own belief that you could not handle it. Letting go of these attachments feels like loss only from the perspective of the clinging mind. From the perspective of your grounded, true self, it is an act of liberation. You are not making your world smaller. You are clearing the clutter from the room of your soul. You are making space, beautiful empty space, for what truly matters to grow, for presence, for connection, for the virtues that no external circumstance can ever take from you. When you release your white-knuckle grip on the things you cannot control, your hands are finally open, ready to receive the gifts of the present moment, and strong enough to build something real with them. Our worth should be a fortress, not a flag waving in the wind of other people's opinions. This 13th question, where is my locus of approval, cuts to the core of our emotional stability. A locus is simply a center point, a source. So we must ask, where is the source of my self-worth? Is it located outside of me, in the ever-changing opinions of others? Or is it located firmly within, built on the bedrock of my own reasoned choices? Every time you refresh a page hoping for more likes, or anxiously await a boss's comment on your work, or alter your opinion to fit a group, you are outsourcing your locus of approval. You are handing your most precious internal possession, your sense of value, to people who are often distracted, biased, and dealing with their own insecurities. It is a fragile way to live because you are building your home on someone else's land, and they can evict you with a single piece of criticism or a moment of indifference. The Stoic alternative is radical self-containment. Your approval must come from one source and one source only, your own commitment to living virtuously. Did you act with integrity today? Did you choose courage over comfort? Did you treat others with fairness, even when it was difficult? If you can answer yes to these questions, then you have earned your own approval, and that is the only kind that cannot be revoked. This does not mean you become arrogant or ignore all feedback. A wise person listens to others to gain useful information, to correct factual errors, or to understand different perspectives. But they do not use that feedback as the primary measure of their worth. The data might inform you, but it does not define you. Your value is not up for a vote. Think of it like this: you are an artisan crafting a beautiful wooden chair. You can listen to feedback about the design, the sanding, the finish. That is useful information to improve your craft. But if someone walks by and says, "Woodworking is stupid," or "I hate chairs," that says nothing about the quality of your work. It is just noise. When your locus of approval is internal, you become that discerning artisan of your own character. You have a clear personal standard, your virtues. You know when you have met it. The praise feels nice, but it is not necessary. The criticism might sting, but it is not devastating. Your emotional weather is no longer dictated by the climate of other people's moods. This is the foundation of true inner fortitude. You are no longer a prisoner to the need to be liked, admired, or constantly validated. You are free because your worth was never theirs to give in the first place. It was always yours to earn through the quiet, daily choice to live by your own light. Our words are never just words. They are small acts of creation, shaping the invisible environment around us. This 14th question, am I adding to the noise or bringing light, is a call to conscious communication. It springs directly from the Stoic ideal of cosmopolitanism, the profound understanding that we are all citizens of a shared world. Your voice is not an isolated instrument. It is part of the collective soundscape, either contributing to the chaotic din or offering a note of clarity. Every conversation, every comment, every interaction is a choice. Are you polluting the shared air with gossip, with unchecked complaint, with reactive anger? or are you purifying it with reason, with constructive insight, with genuine goodwill? Noise is easy. It is the default setting of an untrained mind. It is the unexamined opinion, the juicy piece of gossip passed along, the cynical remark that gets a quick laugh, the complaint about a problem without any proposed solution. Noise drains energy. It spreads anxiety and distrust. It makes the world feel darker, more divided, and more confusing. Light, in the Stoic sense, is different. It is not about empty positivity. It is about illumination. It is the question that clarifies a muddled discussion. It is the refusal to participate in character assassination, even when it is the topic of the room. It is the acknowledgement of a difficulty followed by a focus on what can be done. Light does not ignore problems. It sees them clearly and addresses them with a constructive spirit. Think of your last team meeting. Someone presented a setback. The noise response is to immediately assign blame, to lament how this always happens, to get lost in the drama of failure. The light response is to listen, to ask what we can learn from this, and to pivot the conversation toward the very next step forward. One response spreads frustration. The other builds resilience. Now bring this to your digital life. Social media is perhaps the ultimate arena for this question. Before you post, before you comment, before you share, pause. Is this contribution adding light, or is it just more noise? Are you amplifying anger, sensationalism, or division because it triggers a reaction? Or are you sharing something that informs, that uplifts, that connects people with a common purpose? This is not about censorship. It is about curation of your own impact. You have a limited amount of attention and influence. Where will you invest it? Grounding your communication in this purpose transforms it from a passive habit into an active practice of citizenship. You start to see yourself as a steward of the social environment, just as you would be a steward of a physical park. You would not toss your litter on the ground, so why would you toss mental litter into the shared space of your community? Choosing to bring light is a quiet rebellion against the chaos. It is a commitment to be a point of stability and sense, and in a world filled with shouting, the most powerful voice is often the one that speaks clearly, calmly, and with the intent to build rather than to break. Complexity is a fog that anxiety loves to hide within. The 15th question cuts through that fog with the sharp blade of simplicity. What is the simplest, most virtuous path forward? Stoicism has a deep respect for parsimony, the principle that the simplest solution is often the truest. When our minds spin with endless what-if scenarios, plotting elaborate strategies to avoid discomfort or guarantee a specific outcome we are not planning, we are procrastinating on the necessary act of courage. This question forces a radical distillation. It bypasses the tangled web of cleverness and goes straight to the core of character. In any dilemma, the answer is not found in a 10-step plan. It is found by asking what single action right now most clearly aligns with courage, justice, wisdom, and self-control. The simplest path is rarely the one of least resistance. It is the one of least deception, least manipulation, least unnecessary drama. It is the path that honors reality as it is, not as you wish it were. Imagine you need to have a difficult conversation with a friend. The complicated path involves rehearsing scripts, anticipating their every possible reaction, crafting defensive arguments, and maybe even delaying the talk indefinitely while you gather more imaginary data. The anxiety builds with each layer of mental preparation. The simple, virtuous path is different. It is picking up the phone, speaking from a place of honest concern, listening with an open heart, and seeking a resolution grounded in mutual respect. It is direct, it is clear, it requires courage to be vulnerable and justice to treat the other person's perspective with fairness. That is it. The action itself is straightforward, even if the emotions surrounding it are not. Or consider a professional ethical dilemma. You see a colleague taking a shortcut that compromises quality. The complicated path involves office politics, anonymous reporting, or silent complicity while you wrestle with guilt. The simple, virtuous path is to have a respectful, private conversation with that person, expressing your concern for the shared mission and the standards you all uphold. It is not easy because it risks awkwardness, but it is simple because it addresses the issue directly with integrity without scheming or side channels. This question fosters a powerful decisiveness. It replaces the paralysis of perfect planning with the momentum of principled action. You stop asking, how can I engineer the perfect outcome? And you start asking, how can I act with integrity in this very next step? The answer, when you listen for it, is almost always astonishingly clear. It is the quiet voice that says, tell the truth. Start the difficult project, offer the apology, make the call, set the boundary. The path is not hidden. We obscure it with our own fear of the direct and honest action required. Choosing the simplest virtuous path is how we build a life of unshakable integrity, one clear, courageous decision at a time. Resistance is a silent tax on your energy, paid every minute you spend arguing with what is already true. The 16th question asks, have I fully accepted the starting point? This is the critical moment before any real progress can be made. We do not get to choose our initial conditions. The project is already behind schedule. The relationship already has this history. Your energy level today is already what it is. Wishing it were otherwise is not planning. It is grieving for a reality that does not exist, and it drains the very strength you need to move forward. Acceptance, in the Stoic sense, is not passive resignation. It is not saying, this is fine. It is the active, clear-eyed acknowledgement of the facts on the ground. It is looking at the chessboard and seeing, without drama or complaint, exactly where all the pieces currently sit. Only then can you begin to play the game skillfully. Think of a gardener arriving at a new plot of land. She might wish it were already cleared, tilled, and fertile. But if she spends the morning lamenting the weeds and the rocky soil, she will never plant a single seed. Her first, most crucial task is to accept the land exactly as she finds it. This is my field, these are the weeds, this is the quality of the soil. From that honest assessment, her work gains direction and power. She knows what tools she needs. She understands the true scope of the task. The same applies to any challenge you face. You must accept the starting point before you can chart a course from it. Perhaps you are beginning a fitness journey, but you keep comparing your starting body to someone else's finished result. That comparison is a rejection of your own starting line. It saps your motivation before you even take the first step. True acceptance means looking in the mirror and saying, this is my body today with its current strengths and limitations. This is the only legitimate place from which improvement can grow. Or consider a financial setback. You can rage against the market, blame circumstances, or drown in regret over past decisions. But none of that changes the number in your account today. Acceptance is opening the statement, feeling the discomfort fully, and then saying, all right. This is the capital I have to work with right now. What is the most prudent, courageous first step I can take from here? This question dissolves the fantasy that life owes you a different set of circumstances. It grounds you in the raw material you actually possess. From that solid ground, strategy becomes possible, vision becomes clear. Your energy, once wasted on the futile fight against what is now freed to build what can be. Acceptance is not the end of the journey. It is the firm foundation upon which every step of the journey must stand. Fear shrinks our world until it feels like a narrow, dangerous corridor. The 17th question asks us to step outside that corridor and look at the horizon. What would I do if I were not afraid? This is not a fantasy exercise. It is a diagnostic tool for identifying the precise point where your courage is being held hostage. Fear does not just create monsters, it erases entire paths from your mental map, convincing you they were never there to begin with. This question temporarily removes the distorting lens of terror so you can see the true landscape of possibility. What you often discover is startling. The action you know deep down you should take has been sitting there in plain sight the whole time. It was just hiding behind a curtain labeled too scary. Stoicism offers a crucial clarification about courage. It is not the absence of fear, that is recklessness. True courage is the quality of your action in the presence of fear. It is the decision to move forward while your heart is still pounding, because your rational mind has identified a course that aligns with your values. The fear does not vanish, you simply stop letting it have the final vote. So how do you use this question practically? It begins with specificity. Do not ask, "What would I do if I were not afraid of anything?" That is too vague. Identify the specific fear that is currently governing a choice. Is it the fear of rejection that stops you from applying for the dream job? Is it the fear of conflict that keeps you silent in an unfair situation? Is it the fear of failure that paralyzes you from starting a creative project? Name it, then, with that fear named and set aside for just a moment, ask the question with clear eyes. If rejection were not a factor, would I apply for that job? The answer is almost certainly yes. If conflict were not a concern, would I speak my honest truth? Yes. If failure were guaranteed to have no sting, would I begin? Yes, the action itself becomes obvious. The fear was never about the action's value. It was about the perceived cost of taking it. This realization is incredibly empowering. It means the obstacle is not a lack of knowledge or ability. The obstacle is an emotional reaction that you can learn to move through. You are not trying to eliminate the flutter in your stomach. You are building the muscle to act while it flutters. Think of a swimmer standing at the edge of a cold lake. The fear is the shock of the water. The courageous action is not pretending the water is warm. It is taking a deep breath and jumping in, knowing the initial shock will pass and the swim itself will be invigorating. Your life is filled with these cold lakes. The conversation you need to have, the risk you need to take, the apology you need to offer. The question cuts through the drama of the initial shock and points to the clear water on the other side. It shows you that your deepest wisdom already knows the way forward. Your fear is just the body's ancient alarm system, sometimes triggered by modern phantoms. You thank it for trying to keep you safe, and then you gently inform it that this is a journey you need to take. By repeatedly asking this question and acting on the answer, you do not become fearless. You become brave, and a brave person, one who can act with virtue despite the tremble in their hands, possesses a kind of freedom that no comfortable, fear-governed life can ever provide. Anxiety is a debt we take out against a future we may never owe. The 18th question, am I borrowing trouble from tomorrow, calls in that loan before the interest cripples us. The Stoic philosopher Seneca saw this with piercing clarity. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, he wrote. We are tormented not by present evils, but by the ghosts of future ones that our own minds conjure and then treat as real. This question is a stark reality check, a mental filter to separate the solid ground of today from the shifting sands of tomorrow's worries. Is this a current, actual problem I can act on right now? Or is it a hypothetical future scenario I am merely worrying about? The distinction is everything. One belongs to the realm of action, the other belongs to the realm of speculation, and it is a realm that drains our vitality without offering a single tangible solution. Think of your mind as a workshop. Its energy and space are limited. When you fill it with elaborate blueprints for disasters that may never be built, you have no room left and no strength left to craft the things that truly need your attention today. You are paying for a tragedy that has not yet and may never open. The practice is to stay in your day. This is not a call to ignore planning or preparation. Prudent foresight is a virtue. It looks at the facts and makes sensible arrangements. Anxious borrowing is a vice. It imagines the worst possible outcomes and then lives through the emotional devastation of each one over and over as if they were occurring. Planning for a tough meeting means reviewing your notes and clarifying your points. Borrowing trouble means lying awake picturing every possible way you could be humiliated, your mind writing and directing a full-length horror film starring you. One strengthens you, the other exhausts you, so the moment you feel that familiar tug of future dread, pause, ask the question, is this trouble in my hands right now, or is it a story in my head? If your child is currently sick, that is a present problem demanding care and action. If you are worrying about a hypothetical illness they might get next month, you are borrowing. If a project deadline is tomorrow and you are not prepared, that is today's urgent work. If you are agonizing over a presentation that is 3 months away, you are paying interest on a debt that does not yet exist. Conserving this mental energy is one of the most practical forms of self-care. Every minute spent in imaginary catastrophe is a minute stolen from the real, often beautiful, life happening right in front of you. It is a minute not spent listening fully to a friend, not feeling the sun on your skin, not solving the actual, manageable problem on your desk. By training yourself to stay in your day, you reclaim an astonishing amount of inner space. You begin to trust that the you of tomorrow, armed with the resources of that new day, will be capable of handling what comes. You stop trying to live 2 lives at once, and in that surrender to the present, you find a deep and sustainable calm. The future will arrive soon enough, bringing its own mix of joys and challenges, but you will meet it with a mind that is rested, clear, and fully present, not one already bankrupt from paying for storms that never made landfall. Every event carries a hidden curriculum. This 19th question shifts our posture from one of endurance to one of deep inquiry. What is the lesson here? It moves us beyond the initial sting of a setback and into the quiet space of reflection, where every experience, especially the difficult ones, becomes a personal tutor sent not to punish us but to instruct us. The universe, or nature if you prefer, is not random. It is responsive, and it speaks in the language of consequences and challenges. Our job is not to simply survive the class, but to listen for the assignment. This is the ultimate reframe. Instead of the plaintive, powerless cry of "why me?" we ask the powerful, proactive question, "What for? What is this situation designed to develop within my character?" The answer is rarely about the external circumstance. It is almost always about an internal muscle that needs strengthening. That frustrating delay in traffic is not a cosmic joke. It is a drill for cultivating patience, a virtue you will desperately need for a far greater challenge waiting for you down the road. The project that fell apart despite your best efforts is not proof of your inadequacy. It is a masterclass in resilience, teaching you how to rebuild from the ground up with clearer foundations. The criticism that felt unfairly harsh is not an attack. It is a mirror, however uncomfortably held, asking you to examine your own work for blind spots and to practice the humility required to grow. Even success carries a lesson. A sudden windfall can be a test of wisdom and temperance, asking if you will use resources responsibly or be consumed by them. This mindset transforms your entire relationship with reality. You are no longer a passive victim of circumstance battered by random waves. You become an active, curious student of life, always leaning in, always asking, "What can I learn from this?" The world is your classroom, and every person you meet, every obstacle you face, is a teacher in disguise. Some lessons are gentle reminders, others are the difficult, required courses for the degree in becoming who you are meant to be. When you start to look for the lesson, you stop seeing problems, you see puzzles, you stop seeing enemies, you see instructors, however stern their methods may be. This does not mean you enjoy the hardship. It means you respect its purpose. You understand that the friction you feel is not the universe working against you, but sandpaper smoothing your rough edges, shaping you into someone more capable, more compassionate, more grounded than you were before. The lesson is always there, waiting to be uncovered. Your peace depends not on avoiding the storm, but on learning to read the map it provides. Contentment is not found in getting what you want, but in wanting what you need. This 20th question shines a light on the very engine of our striving, asking, is my desire natural or limitless? The Stoics drew a clear and vital line between two kinds of wanting. On one side are natural desires. These are desires aligned with our fundamental nature as rational, social beings. The desire for wholesome nourishment, for meaningful connection with others, for learning and growth, for contributing to our community. These desires have a natural limit. You eat until you are nourished. You connect until you feel a sense of belonging. You learn to satisfy your curiosity and improve your skills. Once the natural need is met, the desire rests and a feeling of sufficiency arises. On the other side are the unnatural, limitless desires. These are the wants manufactured not by our nature, but by comparison, by vanity, by the endless scroll of a society shouting that you need more. The desire for endless wealth, not for security, but for status, symbols that lose their luster the moment you acquire them. The desire for fame, for constant external validation that can never fill an internal void. The desire for novel pleasures that require ever greater intensity just to feel a fleeting spark. These desires have no bottom. They are a chemical fire that consumes whatever fuel you throw on it, only to demand more. They are engineered to be insatiable, and they guarantee one thing: perpetual dissatisfaction, a life spent on a treadmill chasing a horizon that always recedes. This question is a personal diagnostic tool. It asks you to take any active want and hold it up to the light. Do I want this new possession because it serves a genuine need aligned with my growth or duties? Or do I want it because it promises a feeling of superiority, a temporary relief from envy, or a hit of novelty that will fade by tomorrow? The desire for a comfortable home is natural. The limitless desire for a mansion to impress people you do not even like is a trap. The desire for enough resources to live freely and help others is natural. The limitless desire for billions, far beyond any conceivable need, becomes a prison of its own management and paranoia. When you ground your desires in nature, you find a profound contentment. You are no longer chasing the phantom of enough because you have a clear, rational definition of what enough actually is. It is the point where your natural needs as a human being are met, leaving you free to pursue virtue and connection, the things that actually create lasting fulfillment. The limitless desire whispers that you will be happy when you finally get that next thing. The natural desire knows that happiness is found in the appreciation of what you already have and in the purposeful pursuit of who you are meant to become. Choosing which desires to feed is how you design a life of peace rather than a life of endless, exhausting hunger. Integrity is the quiet conversation you have with yourself in an empty room. The 21st question, who am I when no one is watching, is the ultimate litmus test for the principles we claim to hold. This is not about the performance of virtue, the noble act done for applause or recognition. It is about the private, unobserved choices that define the architecture of your soul. The Stoics called this the inner citadel, a fortress of character that stands or falls based on what happens when the audience has gone home and the lights are off. Who are you then? When there is no one to praise your honesty, do you still tell the truth? When there is no one to see your kindness, do you still offer it? When a shortcut presents itself with absolute certainty of getting away with it, do you still take the longer, principled path? The gap between our public self and our private self is where hypocrisy breeds, and it is a gap that erodes self-respect from the inside out. Every time you act one way in public and another in private, you are not fooling the world. You are teaching yourself that your values are conditional, that they are costumes you wear for social approval, not the permanent fabric of your being. This question demands ruthless honesty. It asks you to examine the moments between the moments. It is the choice to put the shopping cart back in the corral in an empty parking lot. It is the decision to correct a billing error in your favor, even when the company will never know. It is the resistance to indulge in gossip about an absent friend, even when the thought crosses your mind in solitude. These invisible actions are the bricks with which your inner citadel is built. They require no witness because their purpose is not to impress others, but to construct a self you can live with in peace. The reward for this alignment is a form of self-respect that is utterly unshakable. It cannot be given by a promotion or a compliment, and it cannot be taken away by criticism or failure. It is the deep, quiet knowledge that you are who you say you are all the way through. This self-respect becomes your anchor in every storm. When external validation dries up, when you face rejection or loss, you still have this. You have the unbreakable contract you have made with yourself to act with integrity, especially when it costs you something and especially when no one is there to see it. That is the foundation of a grounded life, a life where you are not performing for an audience of billions but building a home for one, a home so strong and honest that you can welcome the world into it without fear. The ground beneath your feet feels solid until you remember it is a planet spinning through empty space. We build our lives on a foundation of temporary gifts, yet we often walk across them as if they were permanent flaws. The 22nd question is a gentle but seismic tremor meant to wake us up to that reality. What am I taking for granted? This is the Stoic practice of gratitude redefined. It is not a passive, warm feeling you have when things go well. It is an active, clear-eyed recognition of the fundamental fragility of every single good thing in your life. Your health, your sight, your ability to walk, the love of your family, the safety of your home, even the simple miracle of your next breath, these are not possessions you own. They are precious, on loan from nature, from fortune, from the intricate web of conditions that allow them to exist at all, and loans by their very nature can be called in. This is not a morbid thought, it is the key to unlocking a profound and resilient joy. When you truly understand that something is temporary, your relationship with it transforms. You stop seeing it as a default setting, as background noise in your life. You start seeing it as the extraordinary, fleeting gift that it is. Think of a glass of clear, cold water. If you have never been truly thirsty, it is just a drink. But if you have spent a day in the desert, that same glass becomes a miracle. The water has not changed. Your perception of its value has. The practice is a daily inventory, a mental walk through your life with the eyes of someone who has just returned from that desert. Do not just list things, feel their fragility. You wake up without pain. For a moment, appreciate the complex machinery of your body that allows that to be true, knowing it will not always be so. You hear a loved one's voice. Listen to the sound not just for the words, but for the sheer, improbable fact of their presence in your world, a presence that time will one day alter. You have a roof over your head and food in your kitchen. Acknowledge the stability that provides, a stability millions are praying for at this very instant. This active recognition does two powerful things. First, it builds resilience. By mentally rehearsing the potential absence of these goods, you inoculate yourself against the shock of loss. You are not surprised when life changes because you never believed its current form was a permanent contract. You enjoyed the loan while you had it, and you prepared your heart for the day the terms might change. Second, and more importantly, it magnifies joy 1,000-fold. When you stop taking the water for granted, every sip becomes a celebration. When you stop taking companionship for granted, every ordinary conversation becomes layered with meaning. The mundane becomes sacred, the routine becomes a ritual of appreciation. This grounding in the preciousness of the now is the ultimate antidote to the restless hunger for more. Why chase the distant horizon when the ground you are standing on is already made of gold? You simply forgot to look down. This question, asked each day, trains you to look down. To see the gold in your hands, in your relationships, in the very beat of your heart. And in that seeing, you discover a contentment so deep that no external circumstance can ever threaten its core. Our opinions are fragile things wrapped in the thick armor of our own ego. The 23rd question asks us to lower that armor and examine our true motive in any disagreement, internal or external. Am I defending my opinion or am I seeking truth? This is the battlefield where intellectual humility is forged and where the Stoic commitment to wisdom overrides the primal urge to be right. In an argument, the goal shifts dramatically depending on which motive you choose. If you are defending your opinion, you are in a state of siege. Every piece of opposing evidence is an attack to be repelled. Every counterargument is a threat to your identity because you have mistakenly tied your self-worth to being correct. Your mind becomes a fortress and the conversation becomes a war of attrition, exhausting and pointless. But if you are seeking truth, the entire dynamic changes. You are now on a collaborative expedition. The other person's perspective is not an enemy, but a potential clue, a different piece of the map you are trying to assemble together. Your mind becomes a tool for discovery, open and curious, willing to follow the evidence wherever it leads, even if that path leads you away from your original position. This is the essence of intellectual humility. It is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking of yourself less often in the pursuit of what is real. It is the quiet courage to say, I might be wrong, let me look again. The Stoics revered reason as our highest faculty, the divine spark within us. To use that reason not to discover truth, but merely to defend a preconceived notion, is to misuse our greatest gift. It is like using a telescope as a club. The tool is designed for seeing further, not for winning fights. Consider a common political or social debate online. The defending opinion mode looks like cherry-picking facts that support your side, attacking the person rather than their argument, and feeling a surge of victory when you land a clever zinger. It feels good in the moment, but it leaves everyone more entrenched and the truth no clearer. The seeking truth mode looks radically different. It involves asking genuine questions to understand the other viewpoint. It means steel manning their argument, presenting it in its strongest possible form before you even attempt to counter it. It requires you to actively look for evidence that might disprove your own belief. This is incredibly difficult because our brains are wired for confirmation bias. We love to be right. Seeking truth, however, is about loving what is right more than being right. Bring this inward. How often do you have an internal debate where you are simply defending an old story about yourself? I am not good at public speaking, you think, and then you dismiss every small success as a fluke, defending that limiting opinion against all contradictory evidence. To seek the truth in that internal space means to look at the evidence honestly. Have I given a talk that went okay? Have I communicated clearly in a meeting? The truth might be that you are capable but inexperienced, or that you get nervous but can improve. That truth, however uncomfortable, is useful. The old, defended opinion is just a prison. This question grounds you in a reality that is always bigger than your current understanding of it. It turns every disagreement, every piece of new information, into an opportunity for growth rather than a threat to your ego. When you prioritize truth over victory, you stop being a soldier in an endless, unwinnable war. You become a lifelong student of a beautifully complex world, and in that posture of learning, you find a deeper, more resilient kind of confidence, one that is built not on being right, but on being relentlessly, courageously real. True strength is found not in what we accumulate, but in what we pour out. The 24th question redirects the flow of our energy from inward to outward, asking, how can I serve? This is a fundamental pivot from a life centered on acquisition, what can I get, to a life grounded in contribution, what can I give? For the Stoics, this is not optional charity or a moral add-on. It is the logical fulfillment of our core nature as social beings. We are wired for connection, built for cooperation. To live only for oneself is to live against the grain of our own humanity, creating a friction that feels like emptiness. Serving others is how we sand down that friction and move in harmony with who we are designed to be. It is the practical application of our social nature. This service does not require grand gestures or a dramatic change in career. It is woven into the fabric of ordinary life. It is the patience you offer a confused customer, the thoughtful feedback you give a colleague, the quiet act of listening fully to a friend without waiting for your turn to speak. It is seeing your daily work not as a series of tasks, but as a service to your team, your clients, your community. When you frame your actions through this lens, even mundane duties gain a layer of dignity and purpose. You are not just filing paperwork, you are creating order that helps others function. You are not just making a sale, you are solving a problem for someone. This shift in perspective is profoundly liberating. It gets you out of the cramped echo chamber of your own anxieties and desires. When you are focused on how you can be useful, the constant internal monologue of worry, self-criticism, and want softens. You step outside of your own story and into the shared story of your community. In doing so, you often find that the meaning you were searching for was waiting for you there all along, in the simple act of lightening another person's load. A life of service is also a life of deep resilience. Why? Because your sense of worth becomes tied to an action you can always perform. You can always find a way to be kind. You can always find a way to be helpful. Your value is no longer contingent on external validation, career success, or perfect circumstances. It is rooted in the daily choice to be a contributor, a helper, a point of light. On your hardest days, when you feel you have nothing left, the question "how can I serve?" provides a small, actionable step forward. It might be as simple as sending a supportive text, picking up litter on your walk, or doing your job with extra care. These acts reconnect you to your own agency and to the human web around you. They remind you that you are not a passive island of suffering, but an active participant in a shared world. This is the ultimate grounding. When your purpose is tied to contribution, you have an anchor that holds fast in any storm. Your life gains weight and substance, not from what you have taken, but from what you have willingly, generously given. The final anchoring question brings us full circle, back to the only ground we ever truly own. Have I done my part? This is the question that allows for peaceful closure at the end of any day, any project, any struggle. It is the gentle but firm separation of your worth from the world's verdict. You cannot control the outcome. You can only control the quality of your effort, the integrity of your intention, and the fullness of your engagement. This question asks you to measure only that which is yours to measure. Did I show up with good intention? Did I apply my full effort given my honest capacity in that moment? If the answer is yes, then you have done your part. The rest is not in your hands, and therefore it is not yours to carry. This is the ultimate release from the tyranny of results. So many of us tie our self-esteem to a fluctuating scoreboard, a promotion, a number on a scale, the approval of a crowd. When the score is in our favor, we feel worthy. When it is not, we feel like failures. This is a fragile and exhausting way to live because the scoreboard is never still. This question dismantles that entire system. It moves the goalpost from an external result to an internal standard of effort and character. You can do your part perfectly and still lose the game. The world is full of variables, luck, and other people's choices. But if you know deep in your bones that you prepared with diligence, that you acted with integrity, that you gave it your honest all, then you have already won the only victory that can never be taken from you. You have honored your own potential. You have kept the covenant with your best self. Think of a farmer who tends his fields. His part is to till the soil, plant the best seeds he has, water them diligently, and protect them from pests as best he can. That is his domain. He cannot command the rain to fall at the perfect time. He cannot prevent a late frost. If a drought comes and the crop fails, has he failed? By the world's scoreboard, perhaps, but by the measure of his own part, no. He did what was his to do. He can rest with a clear conscience, learn what he can from the season, and prepare to begin again. This is the peace that comes from a clear boundary. Your energy is for the action, not for the fruit of the action. When you internalize this, a profound calm settles in. You no longer lie awake replaying a conversation, wondering if you said the perfect thing to guarantee a certain reaction. You ask instead, did I communicate with honesty and respect? If yes, you did your part, their reaction is their domain. You no longer agonize over a project's final reception, desperate for universal praise. You ask, did I create this with care and pour my skill into it? If yes, you did your part, the criticism or acclaim that follows is information, not a judgment of your soul. This question grants you permission to rest. It is the closing of the day's ledger. You look back not at what you achieved, but at how you showed up. Did I act with courage where it was needed? Did I offer kindness when I had the chance? Did I focus my mind on the task before me? If you can answer yes, then you can lay your head down in peace. The outcome is now in the hands of life itself, and you have done all that a human being can reasonably be asked to do. You have done your part, and in that simple, steadfast knowledge, you find an unshakable ground that no result, no opinion, no twist of fate can ever erode. These 25 questions are not a test, they are a daily gym for your mind. Each one is a single, repeatable exercise designed to strengthen a specific part of your character, from the clear-eyed acceptance of what you control to the quiet courage of doing your part regardless of the outcome. This is the practical heart of building a Stoic mindset. It is not an intellectual theory you admire from a distance. It is a set of tools you use every single day to chisel away the illusions and see the world as it actually is. Being grounded in truth does not mean you become cold or detached. It means you stop seeing the world through the fog of your own fears, desires, and opinions. You see the solid ground of reality beneath your feet, and from that stable place you choose how to respond. Your actions are no longer reactive gusts of passion, but deliberate movements guided by virtue, by what is good, wise, just, and courageous. This is the freedom the Stoics promised, a freedom that comes not from changing the world, but from mastering your perception of it. The path forward is simple, but it requires practice. Do not try to hold all 25 questions in your head at once. That is a recipe for overwhelm. Start with just one. Maybe it is the first one, what is within my control, or perhaps it is the one that quietly echoed in your mind as you listened. Pick one question that speaks to a current challenge in your life. Then take out a journal, open a note on your phone, and write. Ask yourself that single question and answer it with raw honesty. Do this for a week. See how it changes the way you navigate your days, how it drains anxiety from situations that once felt chaotic. This is how you build the muscle. One question, one honest answer, one day at a time. We would love to hear which question became your anchor. Share in the comments below the one Stoic question you will carry with you into the week ahead. Your insight might be the very thing that helps another viewer find their footing. And if you found this practical guide useful, subscribe for more. We explore ancient wisdom not as history, but as a living toolkit for navigating the beautiful, complex reality of modern life. Your journey toward a calmer, clearer, and more grounded mind continues right here.